Okay, Mayor, at our last meeting, we talked about food trucks, and we talked about the idea of me making some amendments to the suggested format that was given to us, and I've done so, and I think the media has copies of this. Also, have suggested that one other section of this ordinance be looked at, section E of 130-11, which allowed vendors, and I don't think we even realized that this existed, but it had existed since 1984, and it clarifies that what they meant in 1984 has really become our farmers market and our artisans market. So rather than just leave that floating, I address that too. And I don't expect anything to happen tonight, but I did what you wanted me to do, which is sort of give you a starting point for discussion. And so here it is, and you all have it. One is marked in red, see the changes from the old ordinance, and the other one is just pure with it stated the way. So this way you can see what it used to say.
I think maybe just a paragraph that if you don't comply, you may lose your license. There's several things that the vendors are supposed to do, and if they don't do them.
That's what Marty, I think I says that,
Yeah, the very last sentence, Marty.
they're discretionary by the town, and failure to follow the requirements will result in removal of the.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get that far.
Well, it's the last thing I thought of, but it's really important, because if people decide to just do things the way they want to do it, for instance, they don't pick up their trash after they're there, or don't pay the fees. I figured that the fees aren't in here at all, because if you pass them by resolution, you don't have to change that anytime you decided, by ordinance, you would have to change that fee. So I purposely left the fee out, so if you have a fee, you can designate it by resolution, not ordinance. But it's just a start. It's to start the dialogue. There's nothing in here that.
So Marty, just to be clear though, we are not actually going to give a license to food truck operators, because this ordinance that we're amending, the section of the ordinance is for vendors that are exempt from licensing requirements. So I guess I'm not quite sure of the terminology that we use. They're gonna have to apply for some
They need a permit.
approval to operate, but.
I think that's semantics. I think what we're saying is you are not itinerant peddlers. You're exempted, not really precisely, maybe from the term license, but there's definitely going to be a process. And if you feel like
Process, yeah.
exactly an approval process like we would do with anything else. So whether it's a permit or a license or whatever, and maybe this is just where the people who are asking for it suggest it go. The best way to do this is to have a section of the ordinance called food trucks. And it's not really starting from scratch, because everything you want to say, but I do think that a background investigation of the most minor should be taken on anything where you're conducting business in town on the public streets. You just want to make sure that someone doesn't have a history of fraud or whatever, or violations with the public health department.
I think there are way more positives than negatives associated with these food trucks. So I'm in favor of passing the amendments to our ordinance, but it's the fees and making sure that it's a relatively level playing field, I think, is really important.
Well, and the other thing I meant to say, you maybe think of it, is that those 3 locations are all that we're permitting right now. Most municipalities have a setback from a brick and mortar restaurant. Their food truck is not allowed to operate too close, 150 or 200 feet. And I'm thinking that by only permitting on the sides of those streets by the park, we're probably fulfilling that. The closest one would be Lemon Leaf, I think.
Yeah.
So I think we're probably, good on that. I don't know that we need to specify it in this ordinance, so long as we don't start letting them set up in other places.
I think conceptually, I'm on board as well. I do hear the concerns. My personal feeling is that we've had these 2 food trucks for at least a year, and I don't feel like it's drained a ton of money out of our brick and mortar establishments. I still go back to, I walk around downtown on a Tuesday at noon, and there's just not a lot of people downtown. I mean, we need to do different things to get people in town, and this is one. I mean, could this potentially blow up and we have a dozen food trucks all around Fountain Park? Potentially, yes, but I think it's very unlikely.